Hello, hello. Welcome to the Quantum Mystic Podcast. I'm Jane Bear here with my lovely and amazing co host, Lisa Campion. And this podcast is really a space where we talk about consciousness and healing and what it really means to live awake inside your own life. And this podcast isn't about escaping the human experience, it's really about inhabiting it fully with clarity and courage and responsibility for the energy that we personally carry and the reality we create. And today, we're talking about something that shapes almost every one of us. And it's the belief that we need to feel confident before we make a move. And you probably know what I mean, that most of us have been waiting for that internal or external moment where everything kind of clicks, where the fear suddenly dissolves or our doubt disappears and we finally feel ready to be who we are or do the thing. But that moment really rarely comes first. And we've noticed that confidence comes after we move, and courage is what moves us when our knees are still shaking. And so this topic really isn't about necessarily launching an offering or saying yes to a calling, although it is relevant for that too. This is about the deeper habits we've learned, which is postponing our lives until we feel safer inside ourselves or until everything is lined up perfectly in our lives. And in this experience, courage, it really doesn't feel powerful. It feels vulnerable. It feels like stepping forward without any guarantees. And it feels like trusting your higher self and inner knowing more than that fear that's first. So I'm going to ask all of you listening, how long have you been waiting to feel ready to step into your gifts, ready to launch what's been forming inside you, ready to say yes to the calling that won't stop tapping on your heart? But I don't know that readiness is something that you find. And what if it's something that you build by taking a step, by walking? So today we're exploring why waiting for confidence can become a delay tactic and how fear disguises itself as this preparation and perfectionism, and why courage always comes first in the nervous system and in the depth of our being, and what it really looks like to trust yourself before you have proof. So, this is an invitation to all of you to stop rehearsing your life and stop waiting for permission and to begin choosing yourself, even when your voice shakes. So, let's begin. Lisa, what do you think about this topic?
Oh, I love it so much. I think it's so good. And I'm so glad to see all of you guys here too. Jody, and the Natural Design. So glad that you're here too. If you're listening, please tell us where you're from, what this conversation means to you. We really love the comments that you guys give us. They kind of drive the conversation in all kinds of really interesting ways. So please share. Please share yourself. And I love this topic, Jane. And I really think that for me, two things happened. It's sort of, I realize it's about being more authentically who I am is kind of what takes the courage. What courage is like, I'm just going to be myself even more. And that is the sort of driving force for me. And that part of that process was, you know, not so much looking for external validation, because if we're waiting for the world to validate what we're doing, we might be waiting a long time. And that shift into internal validation from external validation. And I've never really been a perfectionist, so I don't have that. I'm like fine with sort of putting things out the way they are. But I think that what holds me back is when I'm waiting for other people's approval, or I'm really afraid of the noise of other people's opinions, that's where I'll hold back, such an important thing. I think you're right. I loved what you said about taking the steps, that we learn confidence by doing,
Yeah.
And that's what imposter syndrome really is, I think. So we have imposter syndrome, and I deal with it a lot in the healers that I train, um, that who are afraid to start their work. And I think imposter syndrome is what happens when you have a lot of book learning, but not a lot of practical experience.
Mhm.
Like when the 100th person rolls off your table, or you made the 100th painting or the 100th podcast or whatever it is you're doing, that you're like, "Oh, I guess I'm okay at this," that confidence and getting out of imposter syndrome comes from that practice.
Yeah, and the courage part is like, confidence is that feeling like, "Oh, I can do this." And the courage is like, "I don't know, but I'm still willing," you know? And that can be so hard. And I think for me, it's both for what you were saying. I have the Virgo sun perfectionism, which is like such a blessing and a curse for all of my Virgos out there. And then also like that external validation of not wanting to like make people mad or say something dumb or look stupid or all the things. So I kind of have it from both sides. So this topic is definitely something that I feel like I've been working on a long, long time. Um, and we did absolutely all, especially in with the people that you train and people that we both have taught is like on the spiritual path, we often dress that fear in like spiritual clothing. So like I just need one more training or I'm still integrating
Mhm.
or I want to be in integrity or I want to be fully embodied first.
Right.
And those are just excuses um pretending to be like spiritually mature or something and
They're like sabotage. It's like sabotage dressed up as
yeah.
spirituality.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're just delaying the inevitable, which is fear of failure or fear of, having tomatoes thrown in our face or fear of, like, looking stupid, all the
Getting
things.
getting the haters on Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what I've learned fairly recently is that everybody's gonna judge you. You're gonna somebody's gonna probably hate you, and you might sound stupid to somebody. It's like you're never gonna please everybody, and so do it anyway.
And that's one of the things that I got from my family, I think, like, my grandmother, she was always like, "You're never gonna please everybody, so you might as well please yourself." That was and I her thing, and I
Yeah,
used to hear that from the
that.
time I was really little from her, and I think some of it, sunk into me, um, so I have a little bit of that, baked in. Let's
That's
hear
so
from
good.
Jody. Jody says, "I'm definitely waiting for validation in some areas of my life, and others striving forward. Do you think taking steps day by day versus jumping in is a reflection of discernment versus fear?" What do you think about that, Jane?
Um, I think it depends, this brings it back to, like, the science of it all, which is the nervous system. Um, you know, it doesn't the nervous system doesn't build confidence through thinking our way through something. It builds it through experience. And because our brain actually needs evidence, and evidence comes from those steps, those action
Yeah.
steps. So, in when we're talking about like neuroscience, confidence is actually memory. Like you were saying, you do the 100th podcast and suddenly it's like, oh, I can do this because it's the result of your brain cataloging past moments where you've acted on something and survived. I'm not dead. Okay, I'm good. I wrote that Facebook post and nobody came and hurt me.
Actually killed, murdered me in my
Yeah.
bed. Yeah.
So what that means is if there's no action, then there is no data for our brain to catalog, and if there's no data, then there's no confidence. So maybe for Jody's example, it's you're cataloging, that's a hard word for me, cataloging the data, you know? And courage happens sort of by taking those mini steps. But just know, like, understand yourself on a deeper level if like if you're doing it because you feel scared or there's like an absence of safety. Um and and if you're just kind of taking the baby steps because that's all your nervous system can handle. That's what I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And um, I think like I look at it as sort of it's research. So I think there's kind of a resiliency that we need for that courage. We need that comes with how we really learn things. And we learn things by making a lot of mistakes
Yeah.
and, you know, learning like, oh, that gives us data, like more data, like you said, more research. So one of my mantras is it's all research.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that that's what they should put on my tombstone. It's all research would be a really great epitaph for me.
Yeah.
Um, and because when I think about it, things as a research experiment, just baked into that idea is failure is where we have to take the idea of failure out, you know? And
Yes.
research takes the idea of failure out. It's just information gathering. It's just,
Yeah.
like you said, data gathering.
Mhm.
And that to me, that's been very liberating and allows me to, I've done some pretty bold things in my life. Like I moved to Japan and lived there for a bunch of years and got married while I was over there. And then when I came back, had a child, and me and my husband and my son moved to Germany, and we lived there for a long time. I just did a lot of brave things partly because I have a spirit of adventure in my core, but also because I'm like, well, I want to experience a lot. I want to try things. I see things as research experiments, rather than as failures. So it gives me a little more, like, I think, freedom to do the bold moves or to move forward in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And to remind yourself, okay, I did it. I lived. I'm still here. And
yeah.
that's how confidence is
And
born.
what did I learn? How did I grow?
Uh-huh.
Like, that's where the research is. Even it doesn't I don't expect it to be perfect or wonderful, and even experiences that are terrible, which there's been plenty of those, believe me. I'm like, what did I learn? How does this add to my research?
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of resiliency. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when we have some resiliency internal, and that sort of nervous system resiliency or emotional resiliency, we can take risks and make mistakes without getting too, like, paralyzed. If we overthink things, we can get a little too paralyzed, or if we need to be perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's in its own way. It's like shadow work because we're working with our nervous system to remove any of the blocks or triggers or things that sort of have us locked up
Yeah.
in our body. And like you said, when we go back and do like the reflection of, okay, what did I learn from that? And making sure that we're actually taking time to sort of um, really like really catalog what just happened instead of moving on to the next thing.
Mhm.
I think I agree that builds that resiliency, which is that ability to move through, not with like armor that's protecting us from all the bad things, and underneath we're just a total mess, but actual like real inner power, inner light that's coming from the inside out. Um, and I think that's alignment, and that's it's it's like this idea that we're acting from, um, I don't know, maybe not certainty, but we know, again, like you said, and this is what I feel like every successful person on the planet, millionaire, billionaire, is like, failure is success.
Mhm. Yeah.
We have to fail. You're not gonna learn anything. You're not gonna figure it out, unless you fail first. So, really understanding that process.
Yeah, when I was first wanting to publish a book, I wrote a book, and it's a long time ago. I think my kids were still really little, and I got a lot of rejection letters, and I put all of the rejection letters on my office wall. I had like a wall. It was like covered with rejection letters from this book that I wrote. Actually, I ended up publishing quite a bunch of them in like short stories and anthologies. So I did actually get published, and that wall of rejection letters was to me the proof that I was trying.
I love that.
And I kind of saw them as a badge of honor. Although most people don't hang up their rejection letters like that. When you walk into my office and you're like, "Whoa, Lise, like how many times have you had your novel rejected?" Like, a lot. A whole lot. And I'd be like, but I did it. You know what I mean? Like I did it. And it was so funny. That was a fiction novel and I never did publish it. And when I look back on it, it was pretty terrible. Like I can see why nobody took it. And then eventually I learned a lot, and then I published nonfiction. Now I write self-help and spirituality books. And I'm on my 5th one right now. How'd that happen? But that to me, that's like, I was kind of like, yeah, like I'll show you, like I got a little chip on my shoulder about it. And
Motivation.
seeing those, rejection letters was proof that I was moving forward. I saw them as like a badge of honor in a way.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's such a great state of mind to be in, because it's really up to us. We can choose, and that's the
Yeah.
perfect example. You can choose how you look at it, and I think, often we need that little fire of like, "Oh, well, all right, I gotta prove to something external that we can do it," and I think that that's why, oh, what's the word? When you're young and things aren't always going your way, when you have a little, somebody's gonna help me with this word. Like strife, you have conflict, you have something that's
You have a little speed bump in the road.
yeah, you actually want that. I had plenty, it's like the prom king and queen end up working. No shade. This isn't for, I'm sure there's many prom kings and queens who are very successful. But like the typical is that then they're like working at fast food, because they kind of didn't have any like speed
They
bumps.
peaked in high school.
Yes. And so, and I just want to go back to like the physical response that we feel, because it's important to recognize that we're actually having like this fear of safety, like where it's coming from, because our amygdala actually is the part of the brain responsible for that threat detection, and it's always asking, is this safe? And so if we're waiting until it answers yes,
It never does.
you'll never move into uncertainty or new territory, right? You're
Yeah.
going to be waiting forever. So that courage is when you move while the amygdala is still unsure. And we might feel that as like heat or like shaking, or there's all sorts of physical responses that we have. And so if we're listening to that physical response, like, oh, it just doesn't feel right, that's sort of the
Mhm.
over spiritualization. It's like, actually, it might not be your intuition
Yeah,
saying, don't, like, this is bad,
100%. That's
you
the
know?
thing with intuitives and psychics and all the psychic training that I do. I've seen a lot of people hit that, like, I think amygdala, nervous system, inner child. I think, your inner child's like, "Don't make me do that hard, scary thing," because the inner child never wants to do the hard, scary thing. The inner child, that part of ourself is very committed to the safety zone, the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we know the courage is what the courage it takes to come out of the comfort zone and live on the cutting edge of our evolution, which is always new territory. We always have that. And I think that's where that resiliency is, like dealing directly with my inner child. Like, it's going to be okay. Grown up me is going to do this. You take that, and settle down. So really beautiful caretaking around that very vulnerable part of us. But I've seen so many people kind of like not do the thing they should do because they feel like that anxiety is their intuition telling them they should stop. And I've
It's
done it. I've done it. I remember doing that at a really significant choice point in my life where I was like feeling incredible fear around a very big move. And I'm like, oh, that's my intuition telling me not to do that. total fail. It was a total like, you know, I missed the boat in such a big way and paid for it for like 25 years late. Like
Uh,
it was a 25-year long lesson that had to do with a house that I had an opportunity to buy a house. And I just had a massive what I see now is an inner child meltdown about it.
yeah.
And I let it go. And then I ended up with a house that I hated for 25 years. It was pretty bad. I
Yeah.
mean, and if
No,
I wish I could rewind and go back to that point in time and tell
mhm.
myself, this isn't an intuitive response. This is just an inner child hissy fit because I don't
Yeah.
know why. Like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a big thing to learn, and so often it's not necessarily overriding, but we're taking little steps. We're not, I mean, in that case, buying a house or not buying a house, but really, like, sitting with ourselves and asking ourselves and knowing the difference between intuition, which isn't gonna feel like sweat and shakes, and necessarily it's not gonna be like us having kind of a full body, meltdown. It's most likely gonna be quieter than that, especially if we're having that experience of something.
Yeah.
Um, but it can be hard. It for sure can be hard to know what the difference is.
Yeah. I know it is hard. It is hard to know. I think like basically like anything that's arising that deeply out of your nervous system is not a real intuitive hit, you know?
Yeah.
Um that's your body trying to get you out of a dangerous situation, you know?
Yeah.
The real guidance is usually much calmer. Comes We can't even feel guidance when our nervous system's jacked up and we're in our fight or flight.
Yeah.
We can't tap into it. We can only really tap into it when we are in the rest and digest, nervous system relaxed, feeling safe, feeling embodied, then we're so much more likely to get it. So it's not always true, but I want to say like most of the time that you know you need a calm nervous system to feel the real thing, the real intuition.
I totally agree, and going back to what you said, if you're having that full body response, like full body response, no, it's important to ask, okay, no, because this is bringing fear and it's not safe. Our
Yeah.
body's saying it's not safe, our nervous system's not saying it's not safe, our amygdala is saying, our mind is saying it's not safe. Then it's asking, okay, what part of me is actually thinking it's not safe? Because most likely it's like you said, inner child. It could be a past life thing. It could be something that is just putting us into a state of fight, flight, freeze.
Yeah.
And it's not actually our intuition giving a full body no. And
It might
so,
be like, don't get into the car with the 5 drunk guys when you're in, that if it's
yeah,
that one, that
yeah.
might be actually like that's a really good decision.
But most
If there's
likely that's
actual
going to be
danger,
clear. Yes.
yeah, then we also have to follow the wisdom of the body, which is, like can really sniff out actual danger and is giving you the very strong, don't do that,
Mhm.
which we want to, of course, honor that as well.
And that's when discernment and really understanding what discernment is as a practice, as a lifelong practice, as a daily practice of people who are for people who are sensitive to energy, discernment for our own physical body sensations, discernment for when to say yes, when to say no, when to jump in the conversation, when to leave it alone. Like discernment is huge. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's a really important caveat to the whole conversation.
Well, I think with courage, with confidence and courage too, for me, it's usually like a little bit of like um logic and common sense
Yep.
and inspiration, you know?
Yeah.
So if I have an inspiration, especially because I can err on the side of being impulsive and risk taking, I have to like slow my roll and like run it through my common sense and be like, does this make sense? Does this logical? Like, what's the outcome going to be? And like I need both sides of myself
Mhm.
on board, you know, to give me the thumbs up before I'm willing to take the risk, I think.
Mhm.
Although sometimes there have been times when I've done the total intuitive dive, you know, dive forward. But a lot of times I'm using both. What
Yeah.
about you? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think for me, because I can have that perfectionism, there'll be all sorts of delay tactics. And so if I'm dragging my feet, or if I'm just like it's not ready yet, or I got to do this first, which honestly I do this all the time. I need to have a little pep talk with myself. I need to like sit and have a conversation with myself, because and use the logical mind that knows better, that truly,
Mhm.
like, really knows better. I and can almost talk myself out of that into action, um, and into, like, that self-motivation and take the leap, because I can do that. I think we all have that ability, but it's understanding, "Okay, what's happening right now? Who's at the driver's seat right now?" And then, you know, making the necessary moves so that you can calm your nervous system or whatever's happening, calm your monkey mind, and understanding what's happening, and that's discernment too. Okay, I'm delaying myself. I'm, like, dragging my feet. Look at that. Um, and then it's about, like, really choosing yourself, because we all wanna do that. We all wanna succeed. Whatever that is to ourselves. We all want that for ourselves, so, uh
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, this is where we talk about consciousness and like internal vision, like our insight into ourself, right? For me, it's like a committee meeting in there. I'm like, okay, let's quiet down. It's like a board meeting. And, like, this part's like, "Meow," this other part, you know, like,
Uh-huh.
all the different and I'm like, I have to take on the chairman of the board,
Yeah,
you know, kind of viewpoint and, like, hear from all the parts,
yeah.
right? And this is kind of like my internal, uh,
Your own little
part
family meeting.
wrangling. Yeah, like, I have to wrangle them all and be like, "Well, you bring up a very good point, and,
Yeah.
you know, you be quiet and sit down," and, um, um and then kind of come to that consensus inside of myself. So like, well, I know when I am in full agreement with myself that that's when things move forward. And I think that's when we come into that energetic alignment
Yeah,
and, you know, we come into energetic resonance and kind of harness the laws of the universe to manifest, you know, that things manifest really quickly and easily. And we go into flow states and, you know, magically miracles happen in that alignment. But it takes me a lot to get into that alignment, especially when it's really big or something new or the stakes are high.
yeah.
um, and it's so worth doing that inner work, doing the shadow work. What does the shadow part have to say about it? Like all of the parts, because when that alignment happens, it's like magic after that.
It is like magic, yeah, and I think this podcast, this episode especially is about the action part of all of this is so important, because I think I believe readiness, that like, okay, everything's perfect, is a myth. Because there's
Right.
there actually is no internal green light that suddenly like switches on and says, "Okay, now I'm worthy. Now I'm prepared. Now I can begin." That's never, I don't think, ever gonna happen. Like,
Yeah.
there's going to be somebody in the boardroom who's objecting.
Yeah. Who's
Like,
squawking?
yeah. So that voice doesn't come before action. It's honestly, it's like it's forged, it's created from the action, and the
Yeah.
universe um aligns to the action. And so
Mm.
when we can have the board meeting and have like sit down and have listen to all of the people, and like, even the HR and the CEO and all the parts of it, all of everyone who has something to say, um, then we can make that step and be in coherence and be in resonance to what it is that we're wanting to create, which is really important for that manifestation piece. But nothing's going to happen if we don't take a step.
Until you take the step.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can think about writing the book, but if you don't actually put the words down.
Yeah.
I didn't mean you, Jane. You're trying to write a book.
I'm writing.
I know you are writing a book. I know you are.
I am writing.
Yes. And yeah, it's sort of like a slog, and little bit, and then it's done,
That's right.
That's how we do it.
That's how we do it. Yeah. What are you trying, Jody? What are you trying to say?
Well,
Yeah, we all have something. We all have something that we're putting on the back burner, waiting for everything to be right. And this is your little nudge, your kick in the tush to just go out and do it. And yeah, I think it's an
and
important
this is the
conversation.
kind of thing that we talk about in our mystery school, the Quantum Mystic Mystery School. And if you want to know more about it, you can join us at quantum-mystic.com and find out more. And if you want to find me, you can find me at lisacampion.com. I work with emerging psychics, healers, and empaths who are wanting to step fully into their gifts, because I think the world needs all the healers it can get. And my mission is to create an army of healers to go out there and save the world. It's quite a project. And yeah, let's hear about Jane's amazing to work with. So let's hear about where people can reach you, Jane.
Yeah, my website's Jane Bear Healing Studio, and I'm an intuitive energy healer, quantum healer, and work with people one-on-one and in group settings. And of course, co-founder of the Quantum Mystic School. And you can also check me out on my socials, which is at the Jane Bear. And I, kind of go on rants about this stuff when I feel inspired. Talking about taking a leap, action step. um, and thanks for being with us as always. It's always a joy, Lisa, to sit down and chat with you about these things. And thanks for being here. See you next time.